In inverse functions analytically, find the inverse function of f of x is equal to x cubic plus 1. To find the inverse function of a function, first of all we have to go through 4 steps. The first step here, let me write the first step. The first step is f of x. We have to change f of x with a y. So instead of f of x, we write y is equal with 2x. Let me write this with a different color. 2x cubic plus 1. Plus 1. This is the first step. And second step is change x's with a y. So x, instead of y, I'm going to interchange x with a y. And this, let's say this is an equal. And here is a 2. I already write 2. Let me write here a plus 1. Plus 1. And instead of the x here, I'm going to change y cubic. And y cubic. And now the step 3. Step 3 is solve the problem for y. Solve the problem for y. So let me write everything with the same color. X is equal with a 2y cubic. 2y cubic. And plus 1. And now here I am solving for y. If I'm solving for y, in both sides I'm going to subtract by minus 1 both sides. Minus 1. Because both sides is minus 1, so I'm going to cancel those plus 1 and minus 1. And then next step is going to be x minus 1. Minus 1 is equal with a 2y cubic. 2y cubic, because in other side remains just a 2y cubic. And then here I have to divide everything by 2. If I divide everything by 2, then what I'm going to get y is equal with x minus 1 divided by 2. X minus 1. Let me write a little bigger this one here, by 2, but this was a cubic. So now I'm going to take a cubic root in both sides, cubic root, and now this one here is going to be cubic root of y, and in the other side is going to be cubic root. Let me make a little bigger here, cubic root of x minus 1, everything divided by 2. And now, since I have here a cubic, here it was a cubic was here. Since everything is cubic, this cubic with this cubic goes away. And what do I have now? Is y is equal with a cubic root. Let me make a little bit bigger. Cubic root of x minus 1 divided by 2. And last step, but it's not less important. And last step is y. We are going to change with the denotation of the inverse function f minus 1 of x, which is equal with a cubic root of everything else. We write in the way how it is. We just rewrite. The only difference is we are just interchanging y with the denotation of inverse function, and everything else stays the same. Whatever is in the right side, we stay the same right side, but in the left side, instead of a y, we interchange it with the denotation of the inverse function f in exponent minus 1 of x. And now, if we want to look at geometrically how it looks, this is analytically how we can find the inverse function. But if we want to see geometrically this is interpretation. And this cubic function, it has an inverse function. Even if you look, for example, with a horizontal test, it's going to pass a horizontal test. Not all the cubic functions have a inverse, but this one has happened to have a cubic function. And if we are writing here, for example, y is equal with x, we see the function f of x is symmetric with respect to the line y equal with x with its inverse.